News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Coming up, Jared Nitzler joins us. He's a high school student at Woodgrove High School in Loudoun County. He was suspended because he refused to wear a mask, and now he's unsuspended because the people his parents voted for, probably, fought for his rights. And now he can go back to school. He went back to school today. No mask on. How awesome is that? He'll join us at the bottom of the hour. I have to point this out before we get to our next great guest, the Attorney General of Virginia. The news has come out that the State of the Union will be full capacity on March 1st. As I predicted, the State of the Union set to be full capacity. The administration pretending like they've conquered COVID and this is the result of their great work. All the pieces are coming into place. So another one. Check another one off the old prediction boxes there, right there. Boom, got it. All right. So enough of that. Enough tooting my own horn. Let's talk to the Attorney General of Virginia, Jason Miyares, who joins us now. Mr. Attorney General, great to have you with us.
Vince, thanks so much for having me. It's great to be with you.
Great to talk to you. A lot of progress made by you and your colleagues there in Richmond this week to restore the rights to parents as that Governor Youngkin signs into law immediately the ability for parents to make these decisions for their kids, whether or not they're masked. But one of the things that I thought was interesting is Governor Youngkin said yesterday and then again today on WMAL this morning on O'Connor and Company that he hopes that there's not going to be any more legal challenges over any of this. But the ACLU of Virginia immediately jumped in and tweeted out, "We'll see you in court, Governor Youngkin." What do you make of this? The ACLU is refusing to back down. They're once again fighting against civil liberties.
We're ready. Anybody, whether it's the ACLU, any far-left special interest group, or a school board that has decided they're going to ignore parents' wishes, we'll see you in court. We're going to defend the legislation, the bipartisan legislation that was signed into law yesterday quite vigorously. We defended the governor's executive order. We got a big win in Loudoun County yesterday. And so, that was a pretty dramatic moment. We submitted a host of affidavits to the court just detailing the suspensions and how children have been really punished and really in many ways used as political pawns in some ways during this process, have been punished. And the point that I've made to people is, listen, our children have not had a normal life since 2019. It's time to give them back their lives. It's time to give them a normal life. The science shows that if you're wearing an N95 mask, it does not matter whether the person you're talking to is wearing one as well. It takes away the entire argument, which is for me to be properly protected, both parties have to wear masks. Science does not show that anymore. 2 years ago, perhaps the N95 masks were not widely available. They are widely available now through the administration. And so let's get our kids back to a normal life. Let's empower parents. Parents are the best to know what's best for their children. If you're a parent, you want your child to wear a mask for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, that is great. That's your right. But if you're a parent that has a child with, say, asthma, or if you're a parent that has came to me and said, my daughter used to be an all-A student and now she's a mostly C student because she wears glasses and wearing a mask every day has made school almost once a joy miserable, you get to make the best decision. But, we have created a mental health crisis for our kids. They have really been through so much, have not, as I said, not had a normal life since 2019. I had one parent who shared with me that their 9-year-old daughter was ecstatic because for the very, very first time, she was going to be able to see what her best friend at school actually looked like. Oh. Think about that ramification. Think about what we've put our kids through the last 2 years. The science shows it's okay. Let's give them a normal life. And we're going to be on the side of parents and kids in this process, and we're proud to do so.
Tell me what I should make of the sequence of events yesterday, because Glenn Youngkin signs into law this law that requires Virginia schools make these masks optional immediately. He says, look, we're not going to enforce it until March 1st, but immediately the kids really do have this option. These families have these options. And then you get Loudoun County comes out and said, okay, sure thing. Next week, we'll let the kids take the masks off if they want to. Next week, they say. And then within an hour or so, then a judge comes out and goes, no, not next week. Immediately. tomorrow, and that is today, Thursday,
Yeah.
these kids have that option. What was Loudoun County attempting to do?
Yeah. Well, what was going on? You had two parallel tracks. Governor Youngkin, within an hour of us being sworn in, we were on the third floor of Mr. Jefferson's Capitol in Richmond, where the governor signed a series of executive orders which said parents have an option. And so the case yesterday in Loudoun was actually defending the governor's executive order. Parallel to that, we obviously always had a backup plan, which was a legislative fix that was codified in the Code of Virginia. But we want to absolutely litigate this. And to get your viewers a perspective, we had multiple challenges to governor's executive orders a year and 2 years ago, and Ralph Northam, through the stroke of a pen, through an executive order, was using executive order power, which under Virginia law is pretty broad if you determine there's a pandemic or other emergency powers. He used those executive orders to shut down schools, shut down churches, shut down private businesses, and even mandated masks. And so what we were arguing is, listen, the Code of Virginia gives the governor some pretty broad emergency powers, and that includes he has a right to adjust the mask mandate. We had an Arlington judge who disagreed with us. Probably not surprised that it was in Arlington, but we were also litigating in multiple other areas, and we thought it was important that to go forward with that with a Loudoun judge. That was the judge's ruling. What was so satisfying in all of that, though, Vince, was the judge also put in his order that if you're a child and you're suspended during this period of time by these school administrators, that in his order it says that your record is scrubbed, your academic record is scrubbed of any and all suspensions due to the mask issue. And I can tell you that there were parents and those that were in court that were openly weeping and visibly moved. And so many of them finally felt like somebody was their voice. They felt like they've been belittled. They felt like they've been ignored. They felt like the mainstream media treated them like they were the enemy just because as parents they were trying to make the best decision for their own child. And so it was a very satisfying win. We were elated. And any school board that thinks they are going to defy the legislation that was signed into law yesterday will definitely be in court. I'm not sure what maneuver the ACLU is going to be ready, but I have full confidence our team is going to be meeting them head on, and we're not afraid.
Good for that judge. And by the way, we are going to talk to a high school student in Loudoun County in just minutes here, Jared Missler, who was the beneficiary of that judge's move to have that record expunged and saying, no, that you shouldn't have to carry the burden of these awful decisions from this school board forward into your life and your career as you move ahead. Mr. Attorney General Jason Miyares is with us, of course. You mentioned a moment ago that, under Ralph Northam, it was so easy for him to invoke emergency powers, yet it seems it was so difficult for the Youngkin administration to restore liberty. Does that suggest that Virginia law needs to be changed in any meaningful way? Because if the bias is for emergency powers and not for liberty, that sounds like a very broken system.
It is, and so the governor's executive powers, and all these were granted well before I was in the legislature. I got elected in 2015, and then got elected to Attorney General. So these were emergency powers granted to the governor well before I ever joined the General Assembly. But the idea was always